Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? We got a lot of people here.
We do, and I think we have a slight technical glitch, but we should be ready soon. Yes, here we go. Not that one.
Well, good morning. Sorry, good afternoon, and good afternoon to everyone. I hope you're with us. This is the. I'm told. I don't know why I need a full picture of myself at all. I'm told this is the last session of the day. I'm co-moderating this session. I'm Nigel Hickson. That's not relevant. We've got some excellent panelists here. We're talking about 5G. If you don't know what 5G is, then just if you know what 4G is, then you'll probably know what 5G is. So that's great. It's going to be very interactive. We'll take discussions. We'll take points in the chat. Please try and keep on message in the chat. Don't chat amongst yourselves. Just ask questions to us, and we'll have a good interactive discussion. And Yuka will say a few words, and then we'll get on with things.
Thanks, Nigel. Tuccio Seturi from Tbilisi. It's my pleasure to be here and co-moderate with Mr. Nigel Hickson, one of the distinguished speaker and man of internet governance. Yes. So I want to introduce our panelists from different countries. First of all, Mr. Dragoș Preda, from State Secretary of Communications, Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure and Communications of Romania. The next speaker is Igor Milojevic, CTO Carrier Business from Huawei, CE and Nordic region. The next speaker is Mr. Jaroslav Ponder, head of the ITU office from Europe, and the last speaker is Ross Kriman from ETNO, he's a public policy officer. We can ask to start his presentation, Mr. Dragoș Preda, please.
I already unmuted myself. Hello, everybody. I don't have a presentation, or maybe I will show you a presentation regarding a project that we have underway with an investment fund, a regional investment fund. Perhaps you all heard about 3Cs initiative and about Amber. If not, raise your hands. I will brief you into it. So, as we already had talks with the other colleagues from European Union, the other member states, on 5th of April and 5th of May, Margaret Vestager and also Commissioner Thierry Breton already put it up that if we want to see more of this digital transformation that we talk so much about, we need to have the right connectivity. If we want to talk about artificial intelligence and other technologies, we need the right connectivity, and we need to assume the new 5G, 5G plus 6G, because we already talk about these new steps in telecom. We need to offer those connectivity standards to everybody and to all the regions of Europe, not only to the urban area but also to the rural area. We talk more and more here in Romania about cohesion between communities, and as I like to speak not only about smart city but about smart communities. I recently had some discussions with my homologues like Roberto Sanchez from Spain, and we talked about smart regions in a way that we have to talk about interoperability, from artificial intelligence to self-driving cars to telemedicine and mixed reality to other undreamt technologies. All the things we hope we will see in our lives, we want to experience in the near future, are very much linked to the connectivity issues and to the transposition of the European Communication Code. And we already set up the normative package for its transposition, its rightful transposition in Romania. And in the following weeks, we will start the public debate regarding the transposition of the European Code for Communications. And we also introduced in our package aspects regarding the authorization of the development of the infrastructure national worldwide. To keep up with the explosion of the new connected gadgets and vehicles, not to mention the deluge of the streaming video, the mobile industry has introduced something called 5G, as we use this term more and more as a buzzword. So annoying because it's the 5th generation of the wireless network technology. The promise is that 5G will bring speeds around 5 gigabits per second to our smartphones. We already have implemented the 5G technology through our operators in 5 cities around Romania. Everybody awaits for the normative act to establish the price, the starting price for the licensing of the operators. Yes, with 5G we talk about more than 600 times faster than the typical 4G, 4G LTE speeds on today mobile phones, and 10 times faster than Google Fiber standards home broadband service, fast enough to download 4K high definition movie in, let's say, 25 seconds, or to stream several at the same time. At first, many carriers began rolling out 5G by building a top to their 4G or LTE networks, as I already pointed out. That's what happened also in Romania, which produced a lot of connectivity, but not at the speeds most associated with the 5G. As I was talking to my homologues, some countries already discuss of opening up the licensing for the 700 megahertz. That's for especially for indoor, to talk more and more about smart homes and the use of those connectivity apps, and to talk rightfully about Internet of Things. What I can say that the differences between the in terms of speeds is because 5G services is offered in 3 different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. Low band, which operates below 1 gigahertz, reach speeds of 250 megabytes per second. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Yes, sorry. I will finish quickly. No worries.
Sorry, I'm very sorry. I thought you'd finished. Sorry, no, go on. Yes.
I heard something, and I thought.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No worries. No worries. So as I was telling you, we have undergoing a national backbone broadband to develop it all around the country. I will try to show you the presentation of the project that we discussed with Amber and the 3Cs initiative in order to develop this nationwide. We wanted also to suit the ITS directive of the European Union, Intelligent Transport Systems. Also, we addressed the call on behalf of the Commission to develop autonomous highways, cross-border corridors for connected and automated mobility. And we replied also to the GNSS. One of the pillars of the GNSS is linked to the search and rescue. And we also responded to the question to Dragoș. If we consider the age group of 7-20 years old in Romania, how many % have their own personal computers? What about smartphones? And what about connectivity to the internet in these countries for these age groups? Qualitative answer is also fine if there is no actual statistical available. Okay, yes. So if we were to talk about the DESI reports, Romania doesn't rank that well. It ranks 26 among the 28 countries in European Union. We have a great connectivity. We are among the models in terms of connectivity at the level of European Union. That's one of the best connectivity systems urban area. Our system is also under development regarding the connection between urban and rural areas and for remote places. That's why we now are discussing to set up right connection for the beginning of the new school year. And I just finished a reunion in this respect. I just want to cross quickly and to show you share screen. Okay. Quickly, I will brief you through the project.
Thanks. Yeah. We can always come back to it later if it's easier,
okay.
But if you've got it there.
Perfect. I am looking forward to your questions. How many have personal computers? I would say about 70% of the population has personal computers worldwide, well, national-wide. And we now launched a program, and we started offering tabs to all the children in order to start rightfully the new school year and to use more and more the teleschool systems.
Thank you. Look, State Secretary, we'll come back to you on a couple of things at least. Thank you so much, and it's great to know that you know the progress being made in Romania. Thank you so much. Can we now go to Igor, and you're going to tell us you work for a fairly small, non-controversial little company. So tell us a bit about your company and what you're doing. And but yeah, please be brief because we've got lots to discuss. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. I'm very happy to join you all for the panel and looking forward for the rest of the discussion. I will be maybe commenting and making an intro from perspective, just like you said, as someone who's working extensively with operators being in a way anchoring the ecosystem of 5G and making it happen in local markets. So let me actually share my screen. I have a couple of slides. Maybe that will be good to show. Yeah. So I hope you can see it, right?
Yes, thanks. All fine.
Okay. So when we talk about 5G, and this is in fact the main topic, when we're dealing with any kind of planning or strategic positioning or actually rolling out 5G, is about the value it actually brings on the short term and on the long term as well. There is one, let's say, the fundamental perspective of 5G is observing 5G as an infrastructure, which it is in many ways, but we can also look at 5G as an ecosystem, as a platform for service enablement, for ecosystem enablement as well. But purely as an infrastructure, it is definitely one of the key building blocks of the overall ICT infrastructure for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And in fact, the practice has proven that the investment in the ICT infrastructure directly drives the GDP growth. And we know this from whether we're talking about LTE, whether we're talking about fiber, and now something like 5G, which is actually a technological shift comparing to what we had before in LTE. So there is this, let's say, baseline interest, not only from the operator side, but I will say on just like mentioned, also on the national levels of accelerating 5G, so in order to get those benefits in job creations and the overall economic output, and what we all actually want as well is the societal impact. Short-term wise, because today we're also talking what actually 5G already delivers and what problem it solved already. So we have this short-term and the long-term perspective as well. I would say a very straightforward aspect of 5G is bringing home broadband, and this is where we see, most of the benefit that can be extracted, for example, from the sweet spot spectrum, which is the C-band, can actually be made through.
Okay. We might lost Igor for a moment.
Voice.
FWA. FWA thing, we know it from LTE, it has covered rural areas. Sorry?
We lost you for a few seconds.
Yeah, is it better now? Hello?
Yes, all good.
Yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
we can hear Igor.
Oh, okay. Yes, there was, yeah, okay. So 5G for home connectivity is interesting, not only as a short-term kind of bypass solution as we had it mostly with LTE, but in fact as a sustainable long-term option. And why this is quite important, because as we go towards exploiting the C-band and moving further on with the millimeter wave, we'll actually be sure actually that we have experiences that can be that can more or less match something similar to fiber. And in fact, this is not exclusive to fiber, I would say, in terms of any national broadband strategy, and this is obviously something well recognized by within the European framework with very high capacity networks. We have 5G and wireless technology as a viable option to achieve those targets. Operators, as we speak, are in fact using this option and bringing connectivity to homes with 5G. The other aspect of 5G, the other segment, is the industry segment. This is where, in fact, a lot of expectations is when it comes to the overall, I would say, economic output. Now, this is not something directly around the corner, although some of the markets, and even if we look at national strategies, they're quite clear about what is expected from 5G in the realm of different industry. I would say that also the Romanian national 5G strategy document is quite clear on, for example, what is expected, what kind of infrastructural coverage and what kind of industries are targeted with 5G, and as well as we have in some other countries quite clear objectives. Now, this is when we talk about 5G in digitizing industry. 5G is definitely not alone there, as discussed widely. It's a matter of ecosystem. It is also beneficial for operators to be an anchor of this ecosystem, but this ecosystem is quite wide, involving not only operators, but vendors, industry, original equipment manufacturers, software solutions, integrators. So when we speak about 5G across industries, the potential is huge. We have very good examples coming from China. China today is a very good benchmark for, I would say, for globally, because the operators, together with vendors, with the industrial ecosystem, they have managed to put into commercial practice practically already useful use cases, contributing to productivity, efficiency, safety across different industries. So when we talk about the region of ours, Southeast Europe, in a wider European area, definitely it is a way how to propel this value in the local economy, but it's also a very interesting way, not only for opportunity, not only for operators, local operators, but in fact possibly solution players in the area of AI, in the area of data processing, in software. And in fact, the countries of Southeast Europe are actually increasingly doing well in the ICT sector. It is contributing heavily to the GDP growth, and this is having 5G, let's say, as a enabler for different industry, is a way how to have this next life cycle business opportunity for the local ICT sector in Southeast Europe. So I will conclude before we go on with our discussion, just a small snapshot with what's going on in the market, European perspective, wider European perspective. Currently, roughly 45 plus minus operators, 18 countries commercially offering 5G services. In Southeast Europe, Romania has went ahead in commercially offering 5G services. Romania is also interesting because, in fact, offering probably the most cost-appealing 5G packages currently, I think, worldwide, if I'm not wrong. And what is also interesting, not all operators in Europe are waiting for C-band to offer 5G. They're offering in the let's say, well-known bands like 18, 2100 through dynamic spectrum sharing, just actually putting ahead the commercial and technical practice in 5G. Spectrum-wise, spectrum policies, and I guess we'll talk about this a little bit more, spectrum policies are quite essential for each country. So doing so in order to do 5G right. Spectrum allocations are somewhere on the midway general when we look at the number of countries allocating C-band 700, the most relevant, I would say, 5G bands, but also 2300 is getting quite popular in some of the countries because it has actually quite big chunk of the spectrum that can be used in a very similar way like in C-band. Ecosystem starts in many ways also from national strategies. Countries like Romania, Poland, Austria, Hungary, they have quite concrete objectives. Ecosystem is important. Ecosystem starts from the devices. So this is the year of, I would say, bringing more diversified terminals to the market. Also, let's say, the affordable smartphones down the road, already present in China and expecting more to come to Europe within by the end of this year. And we as a vendor, we are practically focusing not only on performance solutions in getting all those experience benefits of 5G, but also working quite extensively to make these rollouts actually efficient, because we need to take care about 4G, we need to take care about how the sites look like, how efficiently we are in terms of power consumption. This is something which is, I think, equally important when we talk about the 5G era, how efficient our infrastructure is in general. So thank you. I will actually hand over to the next speakers, and let's see actually which of these topics and some other that are actually interesting that we can talk about.
Thank you so much. That was Yeah, that was really great, and we'll forgive you for using the slides because they were really informative. So let's go to our next speaker. I think Yaroslav, are you ready for us? Is it Yaroslav next? Yeah, good. So my friend, I can't help but giving you an introduction. Yaroslav and I worked closely together in Geneva when I was with ICANN in Geneva. He's a great chap. He's wearing a tie, so he must be a great chap. So tell us about 5G standards in 10 seconds or something like that.
Unfortunately, Yaroslav, we cannot hear you. Even if you are unmuted, but we cannot hear you. Maybe to volume up your microphone. Unfortunately, still nothing. Maybe try to change your microphone, and Nigel, we can maybe go for the next.
Maybe we can move to the last speaker, Mr. Ross. Nigel. Mr. Ross, are you ready for presentation for your speech? And after we can go back to the Mr. Yaroslav.
Yes, if you're happy, Nigel, I can go now, and we can come back to Yaroslav. Okay, can you hear me? My name is Ross. I represent ETNO. ETNO are the European Telecommunication Network Operators. Right to begin with, I think the title of this session is very, very appropriate. Hype, soon to become reality. Is excited about 5G. Europeans are positive about 5G. Now, this might sound like a completely empty claim. It's not. ETNO has commissioned an independent study surveying thousands who know about 5G to see what they think about 5G and to assess where they think 5G will make an impact in their lives. Looking actually specifically at Southeastern Europe, this region is above average in its positivity about 5G. Now, the results of this study won't be published until next week, so I can I'm sure you'll be waiting to see the results of this survey on 5G perception. The majority of Europeans is positive about 5G, and they justify this by saying that it will enable faster internet, provide a more stable connection, and enable new technologies. The vast majority of Europeans said that 5G is important for society in general, for developing innovative products and services, and that it will be important in their day-to-day life. And we've heard this from the previous speakers about this promise of 5G, this hype. But perhaps briefly, what is actually the hype? Where are we going with 5G? Perhaps we would actually, perhaps Yaroslav will touch on that, but the features of 5G, what it delivers is extremely low latency, extremely high speed, and the possibility for network slicing. 5G is expected to be therefore much more than a new generation of technology. Now, Nigel at the beginning said that what is 5G? Well, if you know what 4G is, you probably know what 5G is. Yes, indeed, to some degree, there is an evolution there. But 5G is, as the other speakers indeed have said, a key component and enabler for innovation in many areas: medicine, manufacturing, transportation, agriculture. And all of these have positive effects for society at large and for the individual, for the citizen himself or herself. I want to very briefly touch on a few applications and not dwell too much on that. And by all means, Nigel, tell me when I've used up my time. ETNO has been holding a couple of workshops. We call them users forum, 5G users forum, to see where does 5G come into our lives as citizens. We looked at applications such as smart cities. 5G is enabling new modes of urban mobility, new ways to provide energy to citizens. In terms of healthcare, this was the most recent workshop we held. Mammography exams for women across the country. We've seen a 5G enabled ambulances, which allow, with its extremely low latency, they allow ambulance paramedics to conduct advanced procedures as a first response before the patient can get to the hospital. And we can even see applications, very practical applications in industry. We heard, we're going to hear in our an upcoming workshop about 5G enabled helmets in various ports in Italy, which protect the worker by creating a virtual reality situation where we can actually use the technology to protect the physical health and well-being of workers. So that's just to touch on a few of those promises which are becoming reality, and no doubt we'll come on later in the discussion to what needs to be done to get there. But I wanted to give you a brief taster of that. And the key thing to take away is that Europeans are positive about what 5G can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ross. Thank you so much. Do we now have Jaroslaw? And then I think we ought to get to a discussion. But that was great. ETNO friends as well from my time in Brussels. But great to see the work that you're doing in so many areas. Yeah, I feel like I'm Jaroslaw. Have we got you? Do we know?
I'm connected. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can.
Excellent. So
yeah,
magic of the second mobile device. So
I won't say any more jokes about you. You can just continue, and yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And well, there is nothing more that I could agree with this what has been said by other speakers. We observe great excitement around the 5G in the Europe region. Of course, we have a lot of challenges at the European level, and the dynamics of the implementation, what we are currently taking a look at the regional level, is very diverse when you are going from the country to the country. I think the previous speakers have already pointed to the stats coming from the EU Observatory on the national strategies. A lot of pilots are happening, but this question which we asked ourselves, how to make sure that the 5G is not creating the new divides. As we know, of course, in the European region, which for the ITU is consisting of the 46 countries, we observe very diverse level of the connectivity, but also very diverse level of the implementation of diverse technologies. And while some already are happy to report the commercial launches of the 5G, the others from the Southeastern Europe are implementing still 4G, launched just some months back. So this, of course, is related to the clear business model and the revenues which should cover the immense expenditures going into the infrastructure, new infrastructure, to the licenses fees. So that's why we will see at the regional level very diverse dynamics. Currently, we are about to finalize the study focusing on the non-EU countries. with the objective of not duplicating the excellent work of the EU Observatory, we posed us the question, so okay, so where we stand with the Southeastern European dynamics, is there the need for the pan-regional strategy, as we have a lot of references in the EU, at the EU level, which motivates countries, but by the end of the day also makes them accountable and responsible for the implementation and making ready the country for this technical innovation. And as our colleague from Ethno mentioned, there are a lot of new applications which are currently under the development. When we are starting work on the 5G, I remember 2 years ago when we were doing the query on the hopes for the 5G, this was still a question how to create the proper business model, ensuring the revenue coming out of the new capabilities of the networks. And now we are getting more and more clear picture on this, thanks to the significant funding of the EU structures and the private investment in the innovation work. We are getting the new applications coming, the proposals piloted, but also those which are ready for the for marketing introduction to the market. So taking a look at the Southeastern European dynamics, we took a look at the diverse Western Balkan countries, where you have few those who are already thinking very far. Serbia, North Macedonia, having clear ideas what they do with the spectrum, what they do not only with the connectivity, but how they are organizing the innovation ecosystems around the 5G, and not to be only the consumer of this what is coming with this technology, but also to be active contributor at the European and the global market. So of course, there is no doubt on the value proposed by the 5G, and we see that also in the Southeastern Europe, and the work on the 5G corridors is progressing. There is significant commitment to this. Also, 5G arrives into the strategic decisions of the governments to support the 5G corridors in other parts of the Eastern Europe. We are aware of good developments of the via Balticum. We're aware of the good developments with the 3Cs initiatives, which takes the 5G as the one of the very important strategic development for this part of the Europe. But of course, talking about the strategies and the implementation, we have to also think about this. What are the challenges in the implementation where the countries need significant support? And one of those is the misinformation around the 5G. I think during the COVID time, we observed a lot of happenings related to the 5G implementation, which in some Western countries stopped the countries from the full speed of the implementing and full excitement. So there is a lot of communication to be done around this topic. We'll be also by October launching the special paper on the implementation of the 5G for good, and does the electromagnetic fields matter for the 5G? And of course they do. There is set of the countries where the levels are still very high, what makes the 5G implementation extremely expensive and slows down the appetite of the operators to proceed with the 5G to the speed it could be. And this, of course, also triggers the amazing debate with those who are still looking for the evidence and the relationship between the electromagnetic fields and the health issues. So also with this, in cooperation with ICNIP and with the WHO, we will try in the coming months also to bring the facts to the table, and to make sure that any discussion on the dynamics of the 5G is based on the proper evidence, and it's not the question of the misinformation.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, Yaroslav, but thank you so much for that information. Thank you for all you do. I'm conscious that although we were kindly granted a few more minutes, some of you will have other things to do, so we probably only have 10 minutes or quarter of an hour. But I know there were some questions, and we'll come to some of the specific questions. But what I'd like, first of all, Jukta, sorry for doing this, but from each panelist, could we just have sort of like 20 seconds of how you think, we can energize, or how you can energize the stakeholders in this 5G revolution, how you can energize people to really sort of get excited about 5G, that it's a transformational step rather than just another standard. People have been sold 3G, then they've been sold 4G. I mean, I talk to people and they say, well, it's just another excuse to, put up the rental cost by another €5 a week or €5 a week. So just 30 seconds from each of you about how we can excite people. Any order at all. Go on.
If you wish, I can start.
Yeah, go on, you start. Reverse order.
I think for us, the most important is evidence-based communication. I think we have to come to the people with the clear message of the benefits, bringing the 5G to their daily life and to the business. Many things relying on the 5G will be made and will be used by the B2B business, and will be even not aware of this, that it's relying on the 5G capacities and capabilities. But this is the reason why we have to demystify, in fact, the 5G as not just the next technology, but something what is a breakthrough in terms of the connectivity, reliability, and the improvement of our life.
Okay, Ross. Or anyone.
So I'll jump in if it's okay.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, as I already mentioned on the chat group, it is very important for us to take into consideration the cyber threats put in front of us by the new standards in telecom. Because yes, it's a new generation, but it's a completely new generation, and it will enable to each of the citizens of Europe or for the worldwide to join in this new community. It won't be only the setup of some companies, of some governments. It will be the setup of every citizen that will be part of this new ecosystem and will join with different levels of expertise, but will join in. And it is very important from one side for the government to develop the rightful cybersecurity standards, but also to develop for the citizen, for the end users, to develop the digital skills needed in order to know how to use those networks, right, in order to know how to properly protect themselves. So the security comes from two sides, from normative and government and private sector use and security standards, but also from the end user, from the citizens, and from developing the rightful digital skills. And this comes also with rightful curricula. We have to take into consideration the future jobs that this perspective already right, the previous panelists already mentioned those aspects. So right, it's a whole community that we have to encounter here. Thank you once again.
No, thank you so much. Thank you very much for that. And did we have Ross? Did you want to, or Igor, briefly?
Yes, I mean, I can, yeah, just a few points on this. Yes, I mean, 5G, you know, accelerating the adoption of 5G is a matter of, let's say, you know, multi-stakeholder efforts. One thing is, of course, the strategy and national policies, which are obviously a thing that has been established as a good practice, and we already have some good examples, something that we probably didn't have in the 4G era. And this is quite important because this is actually a factor that can actually, in a way, motivate and encourage different aspects of the society and the industry as well, not only operators, right? And as mentioned, I completely agree. I mean, this is a very important message for the whole society, but it actually requires an expert-based communication, evidence-based communication linked together with the actually experience that can be already shown to the market, to consumers, businesses, and so on. Because the actual display of 5G combined with the evidence is probably what the whole environment expects.
Thank you so much. And finally, Ross, a couple of points.
Yes, sorry everybody, you lost me for a moment there. I won't tell you my connectivity provider, but
no, we understand that Etno will have connectivity problems. It's okay. Yeah.
How to get people excited about 5G?
Oh, have we lost? Unless it's me. Have we lost Ross?
Yes, we did.
Right. Well, look, while Ross might come back, Jukta, did you? There's one question I saw in the chat, but why don't you go first with a question if you have one? No.
I do.
Sorry, I didn't. You're coming through. Okay. We've got a few connection problems, but there was what, if people can hear me, there was one question in the chat from Vladimir that I'd like to come to. Vladimir, do you want to read out the question? Because I think it's quite fundamental, the question you asked concerning other people in the ecosystem. It's one that you asked back where you say, unlike with previous 5G will be implemented to allow other actors to come in. Do you want to say something? Do you want to ask that question very briefly?
Nigel, thanks. In the meantime, Dragoș and I now Tony had quite an exchange on that. The point is, how will all this ecosystem change the economic environment, the social environment, the security environment? We usually tend to discuss about 5G in terms of opportunities, which is ultimately very important. But we need to see the implications, which might be not necessarily negative. But for instance, one aspect that we discussed in the chat is security. So now we'll have more of the software industry coming into this play. And then the whole supply chain will somehow drag, so you won't have a single point of failure or a single point to inspect, even though you'll have a bigger market and less of the dependence on a couple of hardware providers. And then secondly, so how does that impact security? And secondly, how does it impact economy? Because the telecoms, at least here in Serbia, but I think throughout Southeastern Europe, telecoms are still one of the big supporters of the national economy, which is a separate discussion to what extent that's good or not. But with this, we might have actually small or the possibility of non-telecoms to have their own bits and pieces of 5G network, and then the other industry coming in, such as software innovations and cloud innovations and so on. So the telecom business might possibly, I don't know, I'm questioning, come a little bit down, while we might boost more of the innovation hubs on the other hand. So how will this impact the whole market environment? It's food for thought and maybe a question for comments. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any quick responses to that? I know you've had some dialogue on the chat.
Well, I can tell you a few items. I think that everything is right. Yes, the 5G will be the source of a huge income for the public sector, but that's why also it's so instrumental that the public sector is getting the right strategies, not only to extract the resources from the ICT sector for the 5G, but also reuse these to boost the innovation and to transform those countries which have the potential to become the contributors to the 5G solutions, 5G-based solutions, to be active player in the European context, but also global context. So definitely this impact will be there. The second one, how the 5G will invite and encourage the others to enter. I think we are still at the very, very much beginning of the potential of investigating the potential of the 5G. And those solutions will be coming just now. We need to be patient, like with the 4G as well, and then the impact will come definitely. Only one item what I wanted to also address, the 5G is an opportunity also for the developing countries, where some of those countries will be able to catch up much quicker than the others in the past. Thank you.
That's very important. Thank you. Any other very brief comments on that question? No, right. We also had a question on deployment of 5G, and so this will be my last intervention. Ukta might have one final intervention, and then we ought to go to the summary, certainly. But on deployment, so again, 30 seconds each. So if we had this same discussion in 12 months' time, what would the deployment look like in terms of percentages? Across Europe at least, which is where we are. I mean, what are we talking about here? Very, very briefly, and we won't hold you to it. Well, we might, but
Well, I can tell you from the perspective of the Southeastern Europe, because we are focusing here on this part of the world. I think we have certain delay in the deployment. But I think this will be picking up from the 2021. I think we are just getting now into the phase of the strategy spectrum plans, and the operators are getting into the business currently. So I would say let's be patient in this part of the world, and we will see this picking up quickly.
Igor.
Yes. Well, speaking about actual percentages, it's actually hard to say. But what we know is that for some of the markets that are ahead in 5G, in many ways there are some rollout obligations. So those percentages might be actually predictable in terms of how much 5G coverage we'll have in some country. At the same time, it is also very much dependent on how the spectrum policies will. Some of them are actually delayed, some of them are under consultations, and so on. So this is something that will, in a way, define how fast some of the countries will have a more, let's say, visible deployment of 5G services. And I just want to give an example of Hungary. Hungary, I think, did a good job recently in making the spectrum auction quite efficient. They provided these incentives, like 50% off annual spectrum fees, in order to motivate the operators to invest coverage and with a number of base stations in specific areas. So I think it is also dependent not only about just allocating the spectrum, but also how those things on the spectrum policy will play out.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, that's all I had to say. I know we're running out of time. Luke, do you want to say anything finally before we get a summary? We ask.
No.
Right. Okay. So can I think we've had a very good dialogue. We now have the opportunity of getting a summary, Serena, if that's right.
Yes, and I'll pass the floor to
Thank you
Florina.
all. Thank you all. I will present the main points of today's session.
Thank you, Fiona.
Okay, so governments should acknowledge the need to have the right connectivity. What happened? If they want to fully embrace the digital.
Sorry, too many people sharing. It's going to be back again.
So I'm waiting. So we have the messages back. Governments should acknowledge the need to have the right connectivity if they want to fully embrace the digital transformation. We need to establish connectivity standards for both urban and rural areas if you want to develop smart communities, cities, and regions. Countries should accelerate the implementation of 5G infrastructure in order to increase their economic input and enable social benefits. 5G is a key component for innovation in many sectors. We have to better communicate about the benefits of 5G. Governments need to develop the correct cybersecurity infrastructure and also to educate their citizens in this matter. CEE plus countries must be active players. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Florina. Thank you. Okay, well, I think that's about it. Is there a Yuka? Sorry, I've been stealing the audio. You say a few words, please.
Yes, thanks, Nigel. 5G is a biggest challenge for last time also in our region, Eastern European countries. It's related with the incomes, related with the rollout expenses. So I want to appreciate our panel members. It's interesting and different information from different directions of the 5G challenge. I hope so. So I can say just we will see a real situation here in our region in 1 year. Thanks, Nigel. Please.
Thank you so much. So I think that's it. Serena, any last messages from you?
Thank you, Nigel, Lucia, and everyone. Just another note of too much speaking today, of appreciation for everyone's contribution. It's a pity we don't have much time, but I very much enjoyed the discussions and also the ones in chat. Vlada, thank you for entertaining that.
Yes, thank you, Vlada.
And as Lucia was saying, let's continue this discussion. And I would say let's not do it in a year, but rather try to, repeat every once in a while and see what's happening in the region. And on that note, there's more from SEEDIG to come. So I'm hoping you have time. Do join us for the rest of the week, tomorrow, on Thursday and on Friday. Take a look at our program and you'll come back for some of the sessions. Many, many thanks.
Yes, and let me just say that it's been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for all coming. Thank you for the panelists. Thank you for SEEDIG for organizing. As usual, a great session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's really nice.
Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Arwin.